But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you.
April 5th, 1968. The body of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. begins its journey home to Atlanta. Since his death, Dr. King has become the embodiment of the civil rights movement. In 12 years, his leadership began, at least, to end a system of segregation more than a century old. His courage and commitment continued to inspire people across the world. But there was another king unknown to the public, a king uncomfortable with accolades and glory, torn by an inner struggle between his public image and his private life, unsure he was worthy of the role in which history had cast him. Martin Luther King, Jr. was born in Atlanta at 501 Auburn Avenue on January 15, 1929. Born in the Old South, in the heart of a thriving black community, he grew up in a divided world in which people knew their place and stayed there.
In many of the stores downtown, I could not go to a lunch counter to buy a hamburger, a cup of coffee.
At 15, King, following his father's footsteps, went to one of the South's most prestigious black institutions, Atlanta's Morehouse College. He married a prosperous farmer's daughter with Coretta Scott, a music graduate. The couple settled down in Montgomery, Alabama, where King planned on a quiet life. He would devote his energies to his new job as pastor of the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church.
Our labor that built up this Southland, have they forgotten?
The educated young preacher made an immediate impression.
Our labor that made Cotton king, have they forgotten?
When the test came, it was not King's choosing. He didn't instigate it. He wasn't the protagonist. He wasn't even there when it started. It started with Rosa Parks, a woman who refused to give up her seat on a bus to a white man. It became known as the Montgomery bus boycott. It would last a year, transform King's life, and change American politics forever.
Eventually, segregation in public transportation will pass away. Eventually.
He preached a doctrine unfamiliar to this small southern town, a doctrine of nonviolent protest, taking the Christian principle of turning the other cheek out of the pulpit and onto the street. He delivered it with all the passion and fervor he brought to his sermons. King could also turn his ideals into action.
We still advocate nonviolence, passive resistance, and still determined to use the weapon of love.
Nonviolence was King's excellent way. As news of the boycott spread, the 27-year-old preacher found himself the indispensable symbol of a new form of American politics. On a gray December morning in 1956, King boarded the first of Montgomery's newly integrated buses and sat where he wanted. America would never be the same. The boycott took black protest from the courts to the streets and gave King his first victory.
We see here a crusade without violence. And that is no attempt on the part of those who are engaged in sit-ins to annihilate the opponent, but to convert him.
Birmingham was a bastion of Southern segregation. For the first time, he was to take on a city ready to meet nonviolence with brute force. Images of the beating and hosing of child demonstrators were seen all over the world. By the end of the campaign, King was the undisputed national leader of the civil rights movement. To capitalize on this moment of glory, King threw his weight behind the movement's most spectacular event, the March on Washington. The march attracted over 250,000 people from across America. It would be the first time a civil protest would be aired live on national television. King would become more than a Baptist minister or a civil rights leader. He was about to become America's moral conscience.
That one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
King has now become a national hero, the great martyr of the civil rights movement, whose every insight has acquired the weight of truth with the passing of time, whose every fear has come to fruition. He asked America to live up to its ideals. He died for a dream to which the nation still aspires.
We'll be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spirit. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty.
This was the moment for which King would be remembered, the finest example of his powers as an orator and preacher, leader and visionary.